Good morning. This is Reverend Pam Geagan from the Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley and Camarillo, California. Welcome to Facebook Live.
Good Sunday, everybody. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley. And we have a full house today and a wonderful service for you. We have Betty Ann Brennan, and we have Reverend Pam Geagan, of course, our spiritual leader. Pamela Bailey is here. And let me see. Oh, Dr. Rob Scheidlinger, marriage and family therapist. Looking forward to that. And of course, Buzz Noe is here. Couldn't do it without Buzzy. And I'm Reverend Lynn Chaplain Noe. And so our vision here at the Center for Spiritual Living is, and it's about to come on here. Great. Awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And how we do that is teaching and demonstrating spiritual principles for living an abundant and fulfilling life in a welcoming and compassionate community. And we have our flames of faith. And we believe there is one source and many paths leading to that source. We honor all faiths: Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Judaism, Sufism, and all others that step forward in love. There's one fine thread that connects all religions, and that is the thread of love. We are love, we come from love, and we honor our oneness within all. And now it's my pleasure to introduce someone whom I love, Reverend Betty Ann Brennan, with our quote for the day.
You take these words today and allow them to bring something special to you. And they are, I am filled with loving kindness toward all of God's creations. I love and I am loved. Now, if you'll join me for an opening treatment, I'll be doing it in the first person. Just follow along, make it your own. I recognize that great power, that eternal isness, the creative power of the universe, bringing to us all things, making everything right. Right now, in our oneness, in our unity, this power flows through me and flows through everyone. And so I recognize that healing is going on, great healing, great love, great peace, that all is well. And so we know more and more of who we are. And I'm just blessed over and over again. So to move on, I will release and let go of anything that is no longer serves me. I am moving into a new place, into a new idea. And so this morning, for everyone listening, something special is being prepared right now for each and every one of us. Something that can be a life changer. I am just so grateful for the understanding, for this power, for the truth of situations. I am so grateful to know that my life is unfolding perfectly, no matter what. I let go of these words and transfer them into that creative media and allow that all is well. Everything is as it should be. And join me in saying, and so it is.
It is. Oh, thank you, Betty Ann. Thank you, Lynn and Betty Ann. And now it's my honor, first of all, to send an apology to Lynn and Buzz. We said that they would be on with the Prisoners of Seaside Village this week for our uplifting moment in an untethered world. And we had to shift at the last moment because of a technical difficulty on my part. So now we have our uplifting moment, and it's about perception is reality, as we listen to a 4-year-old's perception of what a baby shower is. Enjoy and laugh.
What's a baby shower?
It's when babies are stinky and you take them in a shower and you have cake.
Honor to introduce What's the Buzz, our wonderful Buzz Noe with announcements. He's made them so fun.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to August, the last full month of summer. I can do that. Anyway, too bad this corona pandemic is continuing to be a bummer, but confidence and positivity will help us all to be okay. And here are the announcements for today. Morning meditations will be daily on Facebook Live with Reverend Pam Geagan, helping us to thrive. Always do your best is the theme for this week. Do that and you'll achieve the perfection you seek. From 7 to 9 on Monday nights, you can come and get inspired to write as Writer Group gathers at the center to meet, live and in person, but still apart by 6 feet. If you find this crisis a challenge to get through, please remember that our center is here for you. You can send prayer requests over the phone or email our messages right from your home. Just let us know what we can do, and we will get right back to you. A reminder to please donate to our center so we can be here when it is safe to re-enter. Whether with mail or using an online way, we appreciate your donations on this and every day. And here are 2 charities that help those in need. They would also appreciate your donations indeed. County Rescue Mission and County Food Share. Please donate to them to show that you truly do care. And as we go into August, we'll see warmer weather and still not be able to gather together. So if you can't bear the heat, don't try to retreat. One handy tool is to stay cool in the pool. And that's it for the announcements today. Now let's hear what Reverend Pam has to say.
Oh, thank you, Buzz. Always, always so clever, so thoughtful. And now it's my honor to introduce our lead practitioner with our centering treatment for the day, Pamela Bailey.
Thank you, Reverend Pam. So yes, I am the practitioner of the day for today, and I am delighted to be here today. And so this month, we have a special, excuse me, today we have a special theme, which is the it's maintaining your emotional and spiritual health during the time of COVID. That said, what our Centers for Spiritual Living theme is inclusion, and it's inclusion in action. So today's program is going to be wonderful, and I'm going to speak a little more in line with that theme. On Thursday, we had the funeral of John Lewis, and it was just quite an experience. I started listening to the speeches in my car when I was going to have a safe and socially distant haircut. I heard Bill Clinton, I heard Nancy Pelosi, I heard a message from Jimmy Carter, who no longer travels, and snippets from George Bush, all giving tribute to this icon of civil rights. I was inspired and moved by who John Lewis was, his staunch integrity, his unwavering commitment to a cause greater than himself, his courage in the face of many dangers, his unshakable faith, and his allegiance to the principles of nonviolence. In my book, this man was a true patriot. And he was also a kind, loving, and funny human being. Listen to his stories of being a child chicken farmer and buying his first suit, along with his historic struggles for all Americans to have the right to vote, our most essential freedom. And if you can, listen to his final words, spoken by request by his friend Morgan Freeman. You can find it on YouTube. So as I was contemplating unity and oneness, I remembered the Sunday school song, Jesus Loves the Little Children. Probably a lot of you are smiling, remembering our little voices singing Jesus Loves the Little Children, all the children of the world, red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. Just think how our world might look now if we actually remembered that. So some quotes for today. Damian Mark Smith said, "We are one, we've always been one, and we always will be one until we think we are not." The Dalai Lama, one of my faves, said, "We need a little more compassion, and if we cannot have it, then no politician or even a magician can save the planet." Eckhart Tolle said in A New Earth, "Be aware what you think to a large extent. Be aware that what you think to a large extent creates the emotions you feel. Rather than being your thoughts and emotions, be the awareness behind them." And finally, Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, said, "Unity does not mean uniformity." So let us now go into prayer. Relax, take a few deep breaths, and join me. And know that God is all there is, powerful, omnipresent, and omniscient. This God of power, presence, and knowledge is also a God of love and creation, who created our entire universe and everyone within it. In that first person representing all persons, I know that I am one with God and all its qualities expressed through me: joy, love, intelligence, power, creation, and presence. I am a divine creation, made in that image and likeness. And despite appearances, I am never alone. I am always held in the presence of the love and light of God. As I move into this day, I remember that and remember when troubling thoughts come into my mind, that I am awareness behind the thoughts, and I can choose which thoughts and feelings I allow in and focus on. I choose those which are inclusive, loving, forgiving, freeing, healing, and joyful. And should I fall into a negative pattern, I forgive myself and choose again, as many times as necessary. I'm doing the best I can, as we all are. And I remember to love and forgive myself and relax into knowing that I am in the flow of life. As I stay home and isolate, I am grateful for the many ways to reach out to others: email and texts, other online messaging systems, Zoom and other video meeting formats, and the good old telephone, which I can use to call friends and family. I could even write a letter or send a card, and someone will get a pleasant surprise. I especially remember to reach out to those who are ill or elderly or challenged with staying in. That always leaves both of us feeling better. And now I give thanks for this wonderful life, aware that it is no accident that I am here at this time. I focus on the good and the light and do what I can to make my little corner of the world a friendlier and more loving place. I release this treatment knowing it is already done and unfolding now. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now it is my honor to introduce Bill Rotella, our astounding and wonderful musician today.
Thanks, Pam.
You're welcome.
Okay, so before earlier this morning when we were kind of getting ready for this show, I heard Dr. Rob talking about family and stuff. And as you know, I kind of wait and feel where the waves are going here to see what I'm going to sing, you know. So I kind of want to sing this song, speaking about family. Some of you know about my dad's musical career and stuff. And on one particular day, I called them and said, hey, I wrote this song for my daughter who's moving on to college. And why don't you bring your flute to the studio and let's do this for her? And, my dad dropped what he was doing, said, sure, came down to the studio and I wrote the song. It's about living and a little, it's like a family gem for me. And so I'm going to share it with you and set up Dr. Rob coming up. It's a journey, learning to live. Every day's another place you've never been. Discover love, then you'll know some things we hold if we let them go. Watch the water rush under the bridge. Want your lover like you once did. Let the things that have come and gone drift away where they belong. The truth can come from no one else. You must find it for yourself. You live and you will learn. You wait and then the lessons learned. You wait and then the moment's gone. Don't look back on what you never did. Go live. You can follow money, but you can't chase time. If you're busy running, the days won't pass you by. How you dream can change the way you live. The way you see the world can change the way it is. The truth can come from no one else. You must find it for yourself. You live and you will learn. You listen and you will be heard. You wait and then the moment's missed. Don't look back on what you never did. Go live. Go live. Live.
Oh, Bill, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And again, that intuitive ear that is so perfect for today, that
Yeah,
song.
I heard Dr. Rob talking, yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you for being in the flow and the moment and with us always. Cool. And now it is my wonderful honor to introduce Rob Scheidlinger, who has become a recent friend, recent in the last few years. And I just want to say a little bit about him. He's a lawyer who had a strong profile presence as an entertainer. Me? Okay. He's gone. Bill's gone. Well, should I just, he left. Should I turn off me? It's fine with me if I, oh, here he is. There he's back. Do you want me to call? Oh, yay. Thanks, Bill, again, and thanks, Rob, for hanging in there. So anyway, Rob Scheidlinger is a new friend, but also he is a lawyer who had a strong profile president as an entertainment agent and producer, and also an executive producer for television on the ABC series Sports Night. He was also part of the crew in the first and second seasons, very involved. And he wrote in his bio, and there's lots of bios, he's so interesting. And if you go on Google search, I'm sure you'll find out more about him. He wrote in his bio that the decision to engage a therapist is deeply personal and may seem challenging. It is a unique relationship where ideally you can be in a safe, empathetic environment and talk to someone with in-depth, psychologically trained and about psychological things that are bothering you, who is trained in a significance in life experience. And I just want to say to me, Rob, you are just such a light bearer. Every time I've been with you, I walk away feeling so much better. The way you communicate is extremely personal and from the heart. And you bring your wisdom as a therapist, and I'm sure as a lawyer, and the compassion of the soul that is totally transforming. So how did you make that shift from the entertainment industry, which is very high powered, and being a lawyer, into being a therapist?
Good afternoon, Pam. Thank you first for that lovely introduction. And we're sort of in the neighborhood here, Pam and I. If I opened my windows enough, I might be able to actually hear her broadcasting, but for the purposes of Zoom, I think we'll just keep them shut and we'll go on. But so it's an excellent question, and I think it actually, for me, it was a pretty personal journey, Pam, to be honest. I had spent about 30 years in the entertainment business, both first initially as a lawyer, and then as an agent representing other people, and then as a creative person making my own television shows and movies and a variety of other things. So there was a confluence of really two events which got me to think about making change. And those two events were that I found myself working after about 30 years or so. I was working twice as hard and making half as much money. Those are never exactly the proportions of things that you want to do in life. And at the same time, I had my youngest son was, I think he was probably about 15 or 16, going through some significant sort of issues in his life in terms of adjustment and getting in some trouble. And there were really grave concerns for my wife, myself, his siblings, and other people in the family about how to get help. And we visited several people trying to get what I thought was real help for him. And we found it an extremely challenging process. It was very hard to get. There were people who were very empathetic and very nice. There were people who were very, very certain about what they knew. But none of that actually seemed to have any positive effect in terms of dealing with my son. I think the effect of those two things really was what sort of launched me into, well, perhaps this is an underserved community. There's a lot of therapists out there. There's a lot of psychiatrists. And yet, when I really needed somebody, I had trouble finding somebody who was helpful. And so that really was, I think, the impetus for me to go back, go to graduate school, basically in my mid to late 50s. That was a decision that I'm just so happy that I made. In many, many ways, what I have actually discovered, sort of 8 years past that point, is that a lot of my work as an agent for people who kind of advising their careers is not terribly different than what I do as a psychotherapist. Some of the subject matters that I deal with are different, but really it's trying to help people do what they want to do, feel good about themselves, and if they don't feel good, affect change and get more positive results. So that was a very long-winded answer to a very short question.
No, it was great. It was great. And I'm in tears here. Literally, it touched my heart so deeply because it came from your heart. That's number one. And also it describes to me that spiritual essence of who we are when a greater purpose comes along. And instead of ignoring it, you went with it and your life changed. And I'm sure your son's life changed and your wife's life changed and the whole family changed. And because you got in touch with that which you wanted the most. And so I want you to talk about what you want to talk about this self-reflection and the meaning and connecting with people in a different way. But also it just touched me so deeply. And I'm wondering only when you talk about what you want to talk about, but I'm thinking, how does that relate right now in COVID to people who are having a really hard time seeing their purpose and seeing what those next steps are and wanting to feel safe?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it actually all ties in an interesting way. When we all of us met a little bit before this call, and Lynn happened to mention, the notion that this is sort of a day of celebration, National Family Day, which I think pulls in, and then, I would like to be able to rhyme everything that I'm going to say in the way that Buzz did, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. And Pam really touched on a lot of the themes I think that I am going to be talking about. I'm going to be giving you a sort of a little bit of a look at why we feel the way we do, and neuroscience, which is basically the study of the brain, and why this pandemic, why these events have acted as a super stressor, and what that actually means to us, and what we can do about it to a sort of brief degree. But Pam actually mentioned many of the things that we can do, which is staying connected, are the level of belief in oneself. These are all, factors that I think help us find a way through some of the mist and the fog that we're all kind of in at this point. I think the place to start is this. This pandemic started with incredible uncertainty. And that uncertainty, which continues to this very day, gives us high incidences of anxiety and stress. And I really think that our ability to cope with this is very variable. So I treat many people, believe it or not, who actually in these times are as comfortable, or in some ways more comfortable than they've ever been. They're very much, it's almost as if the world has shifted and come to them. These are classic introverts, people who, really spend a lot of time at home. And these people are extremely comfortable in some ways during this pandemic. Then for others, this has been literally the most anxiety producing, literally scratch your nails on a chalkboard, pull your hair out. It has been so difficult and awful that each coming week, people don't know whether they can continue. And the notion that there is absolutely no real end in sight to where we are currently, unfortunately for all of us. And it's hard to understand, if I feel this way today, how am I going to feel a month from now? How am I going to feel 3 months from now if I'm not getting any relief? And so these are all things that I really want to talk about to you today, if I can. And the place to start is this. Our brains our species has developed as the most social species on our planet. The thing that basically makes us different than everything else on our planet is the development of our brains. Our brains particularly, by the way, there are other mammals which have somewhat similar brains to ours, but none of them have the part in the front of our brain called the prefrontal cortex. And that is the piece of our brain that basically has allowed the development of this planet. But mainly what that piece does, it actually allows us to be social and to learn and to be together in ways that are very, very special. We crave that as much as we crave water, food. Togetherness is an enormously important part of our brain structure. Remember that basically the prefrontal cortex has actually made our brains much larger. We have larger brains than almost any other species on Earth, proportionally to the size of our bodies. And those brains have developed in a way. We are all born very, very prematurely. The human species comes out of the womb very, very prematurely. Why is that? You're probably wondering. I mean, for instance, a horse is born, and the day that a horse is born, when a foal comes out, that foal will stand on the first day of its birth. It has the coordination to stand and run. It takes us at a minimum 14 months to do that, many 16, 18 months, sometimes even 24 months before we can do what a horse does on the first day of its life. Why? Why does that happen? So basically, 20%, when we are born, our brains are 20% formed. By the time we are 3, they're over 85% formed. So in those first basic 3 years of life, your brain develops in an extraordinary way. It does it outside the uterus. Outside the uterus. Why? The most important reason is this. Basically, our heads are too big. Essentially, when we used to be on all fours, but when we kind of raised up, and we raised up as a species because we wanted to use our hands are a tremendous separator of us. If you think about there is virtually no other creature that is as dexterous as we are, that uses our hands this way. So our brains needed to get bigger for us to evolve as a species. They did. That made our heads, if our heads were fully developed, if our brains were fully developed, we would never have gotten out of the womb. Our heads would be much too big. So nature evolved and basically had us keep our brains very, very small so that we could get out and birth. And then the first 3 years of life, we grow exponentially. What that's done for us is this. There are very special parts. When you are born, your relationship to your caregiver is literally a survival mechanism. If you don't have proper care, you're not going to survive. And at the same time, there is a connection. I'm just going to ask, there's some noise leaking in. I don't know if everybody else is hearing that.
Yes. Yes, I think it's gone though now.
Okay,
I
great.
hope. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that we could.
Yes, no, I'm entranced. Keep going.
Okay, so this is sort of our caregivers basically are responsible for our survival, perhaps for as much as 4 or 5 years. And the formation of our brains, there are things called mirror neurons. Some of you may have heard this term before or not, but essentially, this is what allows an infant to look at its significant caregiver. And when eye contact is made, we have brain scans. We can measure what the baby's brain does and what the mother or significant caregiver's brain does. And that connection produces an extraordinary amount of hormones and neurotransmitters. And mainly those chemicals, and you've heard some of these things. These are oxytocin, which is the love chemical, endorphins, dopamine, which basically is the sort of the excitement hormone, the stimulation hormone. It's, by the way, the thing that most drugs stimulate. So if you want a shot of dopamine very, very quickly, if you took methamphetamine, that stimulates enormous releases of dopamine. But if you want to do this naturally, all you really need to do is look in your child's eyes, or be stroked by your child, or by somebody else that gives you pleasure. And these hormones are abundant. When you grow up for years, basically, this is your expectation, that you will basically be with others, that you will be close to them, and that is our regular, normal stimulation of all of those chemicals which are essential for our mental health, our well-being, and our survival. If you do not have those things regularly, so children that are not taken good care of in their first couple of years, that have an inconsistent relationship with their caregivers, that basically some of them are traumatized. If you interfere with the production of those neurotransmitters and hormones in that couple of year period, that has significant lasting effects on those children that become adults. And there is no other cause of mental disease and illness that in any way, this is the biggest factor on how you feel, is how you got along with your caregivers for the first 3 years of your life. There is no other factor that is greater than this.
Can you share how we can reprogram after those first 3 years?
Yes, I absolutely will, because it sounds, for many people who have, and remember as children, you have absolutely no control over this. And so you can't choose your parents. And essentially, there are many parents that are not up to the task of parenting, and do so either, not very well, or sort of intermittently, or good at some times and bad at other things. And by the way, the basic thing that I will say to you is the term that's important to remember about parenting is good enough parenting. There is no perfect parenting. There is nobody who does this flawlessly. Good enough parenting, for most of us, suffices in reaching some level of equilibrium and balance. But for those that don't, yes, if I don't answer this, Pam, just because I get stuck in my own head, please remind me again. I intend to answer that question, okay? But the idea here is that if you have we get to a place in our lives as adults where other people, not our family necessarily anymore, but other relationships start to supplant, and they produce very much the same stimulation in our brains that I'm talking about in those first 3 years of life. That basically connection with others, touch with others, sharing information, using your senses in nature, all of these things basically produce the hormones that I'm talking about that are essential. Any disruption of that pattern can result in anxiety and depression.
What about chemical makeup coming in? When you come in with certain chemical makeups, you know, that kind of, go ahead. I think you know what I'm going for here.
Well, are you talking about this sort of idea that essentially there are genetic traits
Yes.
that lead us? So, by the way, there is no question that genetic traits do have some bearing in this formula, not nearly as much as most people think. And really, environment really in many, many ways creates those traits. So people will talk about, I have an addictive personality. You hear that, people talk about that, or my family has depression in it. And the question really is that something genetic, or is that environmental? So for many years, we always thought that alcoholism was passed down because it was amazing. You would have alcoholics and their children would be alcoholics, and it seemed to be a disease that was passed through bloodlines. There is absolutely no scientific evidence of any kind that that's the case. The truth of it is that alcoholics are self-medicating for emotional issues. Those issues create treatment of others in their environment, and it's that environment that creates the situation where people have emotional distress and need to self-medicate. So yes, it's absolutely true. There's a high preponderance of the offspring of addicts can often have substance abuse issues, but they are this is not a genetic disorder. There are certain things. So,
Are you saying, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, so I'll give you an example of something that is hereditary. So there are parts of bipolar disorder that are genetic. There are parts of both schizophrenia and psychoses that have some genetic markers in the brain that we have found, but it is actually quite rare. And for most of the people who are on this call, I would think the genetics are not the issue. It's who did you live with? What kind of circumstances did you live in? And then what has happened since? And that's the answer to your question, Pam, which is, so let's just say that in essence, we learn to regulate our emotions from our significant caregivers. The way in which you respond to adversity, to panic, to extreme happip,ness, to joy, to connectivity, all of that is basically, we are aping the mirror neurons. So with a child, with an infant that cannot see, in its first, you often notice they will mimic the response on a face, on a parental face. You will smile at them and they will you will see their facial muscles. How can that? There are neurons, there are receptors that you have at birth that allow you to see, even if your eyes are not yet completely capable of seeing.
Okay, so in the argument of nurture versus nature, you're saying nurture is like 90 or 80% or 60% more important.
Yes, particularly in the field of mental health. In the field of mental health, there are many other genetic things that are extremely important. There are many, but when it comes to dealing with the issues that I treat, nurture is much, much more important than nature.
Can you,
Absolutely.
can you, when you're with your clients, your patients, whatever you want to call them, do you offer tools that will help them nurture themselves? How do you work with people who have never been nurtured and suffer a lot in different areas?
That's a great question. So first, let me answer, I want to answer the question you had actually posed before, which is, we learn to regulate our emotions from our significant caregivers. We also get a great deal of our sort of emotional being in those first 3 years of life. But what happens if that's not very good? Are we cursed with that for life? And the answer is absolutely not. Because throughout our lifespan, we create significant relationships. And hopefully, in that time, you will have several of those, if it's with a loved one, if it's perhaps having your own children. But it doesn't even have to be that. It can be with mentors. It can be with a boss. It can be with a best friend. Those relationships also allow us to change not only the chemical balance in our brain, but the emotional regulation. So we are constantly learning how to regulate our emotions. A great deal of it happens from 0 to 3. But if it didn't happen in a particularly productive way for people, and we see this all the time, we see people from terrible, terrible childhoods go on to do the most extraordinary things in life. And that's part of the miracle of what, Pam was talking about before, which is we are determinative. We have an ability to change. We have this extraordinary tool. This tool, for all of us, makes us unique creatures, and it makes us all alike. And our ability to recognize that and work on that, to identify, what is the distress? If I'm not feeling good about myself, my world, or what's happening, why? What are the factors contributing to that? Secondly, what do I have control of? What factors do I have control of? What don't I have control of? And lastly, so once you have that insight, the insight alone does not make change. But once you have that insight, you are then able to determine with what control can I make change? What can I do in my life to make the quality of my life better? And by doing that, you're also going to improve the quality of life for those around you, which is precisely what we want to do, I think, every day.
You have so much information. Will you come back, please?
Of course.
Oh, thank you, Rob, so much. We're getting tight on time here, but what you said is, to me, I'm mirroring your eyes. No. I am mirroring, I think, what you said, and it's that awakening to that which you want to change, changing your thoughts more or less, and then taking action to not reprogram. I don't want to make us sound like robots, to reaffirm that which you would desire in your actions, then changes not only you, but it has to change everyone around you. It has to, because if you change, everything around you changes. And then I'm saying thought by thought by thought, heart by heart by heart. That's how we lift the consciousness of the world. That's. Do you have anything closing that you would like to say? You promise you'll come back.
Yes, I do. I was just going to make a couple of suggestions for now.
Yes.
A couple of suggestions for people dealing with their lives now. Number one, if you can, don't make huge decisions during this time. This is not a good time to make enormous life decisions about relationships, about big financial things. If you can, this is not the best time to do that in general. Two, I think it's really, really important to know how important it is to connect in whatever way you can now. So I particularly, I tried to say to myself, I'm going to take several days a week and absolutely force myself to connect to some people I have not talked to in a couple of weeks. And I do this regularly. And I think it's really an important tool to be reaching out and not to stay by yourself here. I think it's also important within the context of your family, which you're probably around more than you have ever been, for those of you that haven't, to really, really examine the quality of those relationships. And the last part I think is really, really important, which is to be kind to yourself and kind to others. In this time, the self-critical piece that we all have is in overdrive. You have a lot of time to yourself. You have a lot of time to think. And that self-critical piece is not doing anybody any favors now. So it's really important to be kind to yourself. And when you are, you then have enough strength to be empathetic and to give to others. If you do so out of a place of abundance, you're doing an extraordinary thing. If you do it out of scarcity, if you don't have enough, you're going to end up, it's not going to be satisfying for you, and you're not going to be giving as much as you want to the other person.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. I learned long ago, it's when you have those bad thoughts, is kind of lighthearted, but after what you said, but I always say, thank you for sharing. The truth is, and I say the positive, because we do, I think we're so critical of many of us are self-critical. So I just can't thank you enough. Blessings galore. And I'll see you in the hood, as I say. I'll wave at you too. Oh, and just one other thing. I love your mailbox. Mail carriers, we love you. I think it's, and I like that a lot. I like it a lot. Anyway.
So Pam, if people who are watching have
yes, please. Yes.
Please have them, I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody has, if I can. I'd be happy to hear from anybody who is in fact watching this thing.
And if they get in touch with us, they can get in touch with me, or they can leave an email at the church email, cslpleasantvalley@gmail.org, and let us know, and I will get information for them, or to you, that you can contact them when possible. Okay, does that work?
Yes, that would be great. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now, again, it is my honor. I can't wait to see what Bill plays after this conversation. Introduce
Dr. Rob. That was great.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
I really got a lot out of that. That's, I worked with at-risk youth for so many years, and I love when I hear someone talk about, you're not destined for difficulty your entire life. Like there are people that come in your life, whether they're mentors or whatever, that help you regulate. And so I'm going to play the song that I had no idea, but Dr. Rob, that was awesome. Thank you, man.
Thank you. It's nice.
This is a song called It's Never Too Late. There's 100 things I wish I said, some pages I wish I'd read, but I didn't. I must live with that. Trying to never look back. I don't waste time with should have beens. Played and lost, sometimes I win. Luck and love have escaped, but they'll be back one of these days. And I think it's time. I'm knocking on the gates of change, and I'm learning that they open from inside. Good luck comes to those who wait, and nothing needed ever comes too late. One by one, let tomorrows come and say your chows to everyone. Watch the kids dance on the beach, 'cause that life is within reach. But you want this and I want that. Where we are is where we're at. It's our choice to live in fear or hear the voices that we hear. And I think it's time. I'm knocking on the gates of change, and I'm learning that they open from inside. Good love comes to those who wait, and nothing needed ever comes to. It's never too late till everyone sings, and you're down on your knees saying how you believe. No, till the writing's in stone and the fire below just can wait. It's never too late. The verb of love's an action of sorts, but we don't sow, they reap in court. And all those things we work to get become your lawyer's no. Sorry, Rob, it was a lawyer joke. New Corvette, but things are better next time around. Wish we knew then, but we know now. It's better to love and live, they say, 'cause nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I think it's time. I'm knocking on the gates of change, and I'm learning that they open from inside. Good love comes to those who wait, and nothing needed ever comes too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. There's 100 things I wish I'd said, some pages I wish I'd read. I didn't, I must live with that. 'Cause I'm trying to never look back. I don't waste time with should have beens. Played and lost, sometimes I win. Luck and love have escaped, but they'll be back one of these days. 'Cause it's never too late. It's never too late.
Perfect, Bill. And it's not too late, Rob, to bump up and get that Corvette.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Bill, so much. So now it is thank you, Dr. Rob Scheidlinger, for being with us. What a treat. What an honor. And we honor you in your practice and your life. That's it. And you have a wonderful family. I've met 3 of them, including you. 4 of them, including your dog, both dogs. Anyway, so now it is time for us to go into our giving, our introduction for our offering, which is divine love blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is, and that's the way it is. And we now want to thank you again for watching our Sunday service. If you feel you've received value from this experience, please support our ministry with a tax-deductible donation. Visit our website, www.cslpleasantvalley.org, and we accept PayPal and Zelle. So please, so that we can keep our doors open, which haven't been open, but we can continue to bring great messages to you from your heart, from that spiritual beingness. And also, I would like for those, we're Sacred Judgment are more than ever appreciated. Our mailing address is 221 Daily Drive in Camarillo, California. And now we're starting something new. We just started it last week. Join us after service for coffee and conversation, at least conversation. And you can go in after we leave the program and go into Zoom. And for a meeting ID, it's 805-987-5379. And the Zoom password is capital L, capital D, 2, lowercase m, lowercase h, lowercase r. And so now I just want to say goodbye. Thank you, Dr. Rob Scheidlinger, and of course our Lynn and our Buzz and our Pamela and our wonderful Betty Ann and Spencer Geagan behind the scenes, in front of the scenes right now. This is great. And also Marcia Beebe. I love each and every one of you. Have a blessed day. And I'll see you tomorrow morning for meditation. And check in with us afterwards if you want to connect, as Rob said. Thank you so much. See ya.